we're not just obsessed with like the look, although that's cool and it's fun to always work on the look. We're obsessed with trying to make it better.
Have you noticed a difference in terms of the way that you pay attention to the way that you feel?
It's being grateful for this body, whereas before I was kind of like upset, like, oh, it's a little broken.
Do you guys think there's any aspect of this that people would think is conceited?
I think that people do think that. The person that has a nice body, much like the person that has the Lambo, they're going to want to drive it around the block a little bit. So when you have a nice physique, it's not uncommon for you to like want to go outside and run with your shirt off. Or it's not uncommon to pop your shirt off at a pool party, be the first one to pop your shirt off at the pool party. I think that building up confidence in yourself and feeling good about yourself can be a huge positive.
Look at this. Look at that. Oh, it's not.
He's
man, you guys want to get started there?
Yeah. Well, it's super funny because Bobby always kind of has this like half smile going on. So he has that, I don't know if you guys remember the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters. Bit. He had like a little smile going as he's like trashing New York City. Bobby Lashley looked like that a little bit. He's got this little smirk and he's a really nice guy, but he's jacked like Ram Man.
Oh, God.
And very dangerous.
They were very creative with
high level wrestler.
The name on that one, Ram Man.
Yeah, right. Right.
They really laid that one up.
Yeah, Ram Man's not going to win any mobility drills anytime soon.
This makes you want to ram a man, huh?
Right? It does. Yeah, you should see the back of that suit.
He doesn't look very thick. Ram Man doesn't look very thick. He looks like he has twig legs. You know,
he's not working them legs.
Not that booty.
You got to work on them legs.
You should. I think like that's one thing. You shouldn't skip leg day, and you should work your glutes, even as a guy. It's important.
I think girls might like the legs more than the arms, even. I don't know.
Shit, I agree.
I think I hear that from females a lot. It sounds like they dig it when. I mean, I guess you don't want a guy with like, small shoulders and stuff either, but I think they dig the legs, right?
And I don't want to physique shame any of y'all, but like, yeah, no, I think so. Like, sturdy legs means you can hoist. Sturdy. You're on a movable base, right?
Yeah, do some squats.
Yeah,
squats.
Why not? Some deadlifts. Maybe some lunges.
The guy in the gym.
Oh yeah, the guy in the gym. That guy's got ass for days.
Why does he have so much back? That doesn't make sense.
It's like every step he ever took went right to his butt.
For those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about, there is a member of Super Training Gym who he bikes everywhere.
He's got them glutes.
Yeah.
So much glutes.
Yeah, he mad thick. He's really got like.
Well,
if you cut his body in half, you wouldn't be sure.
In our defense, he does wear like a singlet, like a cycling singlet all the time. So that ass is out there for everyone to see.
You don't need much imagination.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to shake it and wave it around in front of us, and we're going to be able to talk about it, right?
Yo. Oh, God. Yeah. I was dude. Because like I think every dude has like a little bit of a radar for booty, depending on how much you like booty. You know, my radar is like sky high. So there were multiple times I know this when I was just sitting in the gym, just doing my shit, and then I'm like at the side of my eye, I see something like, what? I'm like, oh shit! Like,
he got me again.
Got me again. It's like, why, bro?
You got like radar. Anybody with like a certain ratio.
Certain ratio. You just
look at it.
That dude's out here pulling tricks on people, man. Yo, okay, I got to tell you guys a quick story. It's kind of funny. It's my boy Brian. But I think he was like fasting or something. Yeah, he was fasting or something. So he was super hungry and super thirsty. And he was talking to a friend of his. And apparently this friend had like a lot of chapstick on. And his lips were exceptionally juicy on this day. So while they're talking, he was telling me, he's like, yo, like, no homo, bro. But like, for some reason, I just couldn't stop looking at his lips. I'm just, why are these niggas' lips so juicy? It's just like... And he's straight as fuck. But it's just
great.
like, so he's so hungry and so thirsty, just zoned in on his juicy lips.
Drawn in.
I'm so dehydrated, and your lips are so hydrated.
Oh god!
Like that kiss meant nothing to me. I was just really thirsty. I don't know if it works that way or not.
Man.
I don't know if it works that way or not.
It should if it doesn't.
Andrew, what are you doing over there, man? Your veins are getting all crazy.
You guys keep talking about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just doing jiu-jitsu and stuff.
Do you have like the little Ultimate Warrior thing like tied around the top of your biceps or something to try to get the veins to pop?
Yeah, to show the like the delt definition too, right? Because like he cuts it off pretty high, and then it just
Seems like you know a lot about it.
Well, because I seen it and I was curious when I was a kid. Like I wonder, is that kind of like a push-up bra for the delt? I was like, like that makes some sense. But no, I'm just I think I'm just still recomping the body, so like losing some body fat, and now it's more than just the like the obvious places. Like people talk about the lower abs and wanting to attack that. Like, yes, for me that is the last thing to go, but now that I am dropping fat and continuing to drop fat, it's just coming off of more places instead of like the upper stomach or wherever it may be, or like the love handles. Now it is kind of making its way to the arms to where, I'll go do jiu-jitsu and I'll have some electrolytes and refuel with some eggs and some toast, and the veins start popping, because I have been getting that compliment quite a bit lately, is like, dude, what are you doing? Like your veins are going nuts right now. So thank you.
You're like, I've been strangling people.
That's
my secret.
Strangling my arms so the veins pop.
I'm curious about this too, because what we're gonna get into, there's an idea of like, people talk about being obsessed with your physique and that being unhealthy.
Yeah, Andrew already has a great build. It's like, how much further you want to keep going? And you probably look at it and you're probably like, I could still do way better.
Yeah.
But have you noticed, Andrew, and even you, Mark, like over the years, I'm like a guest. Have you? Anyway, but like, have you noticed a difference in terms of the way you pay attention to what things feels like? Because like, I think I've even seen comments of this, of how people are like, Andrew is like talking differently about his movement in his body. Have you noticed a difference in terms of the way that you pay attention to the way that you feel since starting jiu-jitsu?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's being grateful for this body, whereas before I was kind of like upset, like, oh, it's a little broken, like how come, that sort of thing. And then so like the other day I did go to brush my teeth and I felt like a little something in my back, where in the past I would have been like, oh, it's over, like, I got to lean on the fucking counter again and brush my teeth this way. It was like, oh, that was like, I felt that thing. And then so then I kind of got into like a Goda position, get in my back chain to relieve the pressure or the pain. And then afterwards I just like I know I can move, so like I have confidence in this body. And so I just started moving, doing some stuff on the ground, and then it was fine. It was no big deal. But in the past, I wouldn't have believed that I could have reversed that pain that fast. I would have just been like, oh, this is it, it's over. Now it's like, no, we can easily reverse all of this.
You ever kind of think you tweak something and you're just like, you got to be fucking kidding me?
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you're right. There's nothing happens. You're like, oh, that was just a little weird movement, but you just went to pick up socks off the floor or something. You did something, and you're like, oh, I think I might have slightly tweaked. And then you're like, I did. I fucking tweaked something. I don't get. And then sometimes it hurts some things can kind of like. I've had days where I've gotten up and just whatever reason my ankle will bother me and it like pops or like it's stuck in some weird way, and it might hurt me the whole first half of the day, like all the way to the point where I got like a limp or something, and then I don't know what happens, something else like rights itself, and then it's fine.
That was
Weird.
I was gonna go to the ankle right when you said that, because I took a step down and it just like a hot stinging feeling like on my left side of my ankle. I was like, what is that? And you try to like roll it out to like pop it or do something, and I'm like, it's getting worse. Like, what did I just do? And then get to the end of the day and you've completely forgot that it even happened. But like in that moment, I'm like, oh, I might have to address this. It was weird. I don't know what happened, but maybe just being 38 years old, stuff like that happens. I don't know. But yeah, it is weird.
I think like over time, because, today I rolled with our boy Charlie. and he did something, and my back kind of slammed on the mat. He was moving quite a bit wild, but afterwards, like I had this little kink in my neck and this little kink in my back, and I've had this before. I know I've had this multiple times through lifting or whatever, but the way that I address things now is so different than in the past, because in the past I'd be like, oh, I can't move my neck, so then I'd stop moving my neck, right? I'd kind of just like, let it get a little bit better.
Be a little nervous about it too.
Be a little bit nervous. I don't think it's bad to go to a body worker. It's actually great. Oscar Olguin, who's he's a friend of the show. He works on all of us. I go to him from time to time. But, today when that happened, okay, I couldn't move my neck much, but then I just started really trying to see how far I could go, how painful it was. I was okay with that pain because I think in the past I would have definitely avoided that pain. We had a few tools in terms of like myofascial release. So I smashed my trap, smashed my back, did some long range stuff in the gym, and now it's feeling way better. I have more freedom of movement, but it's interesting that in the past, I think because I wasn't moving in such different ways, all of my movement was focused on isolation, compound movements in the gym. The way that I would address my body would also be in very kind of isolatory ways, if that makes any sense. I wouldn't put everything together.
Yeah, and I think because we are like obsessed with fitness, obsessed with our own bodies, I guess you'd say, and we're not just obsessed with like the look, although that's cool and it's fun to always work on the look. We're obsessed with trying to make it better, and each one of us has slightly different goals. We're all in different phases of our life, of what we're doing. You're competing on a world level, so that's amazing to watch. And so your standards are going to be different than what Andrew and I are shooting for, but we all have these particular goals. I was watching a video that someone posted the other day. It was just like sometimes these random posts kind of pop up in your feed. And it was of a guy running, and it said, what are you looking for? Like how do you spot athleticism? And I thought, wow, what an interesting thing. And I don't know who posted it, and I didn't know who was in the video, but I knew that I wasn't spotting a lot of athleticism from the person that was running. They're running pretty fast. The speed was pretty good. But whether I can mimic, high level athleticism is a different point. I'm not saying that I can, and I'm not saying that I'm super proficient, but I know it when I see it from somebody else. I can see it from other people. And this guy in particular wasn't super fluid. And when he was basically doing like a sprint, and again, he was running pretty fast. He was running like 100 meter. Looked like he was running pretty good, but he wasn't head over foot at all. Like he was really like stuck somewhere. And he looked a little robotic. Again, he looked fast, so there was some athleticism there for sure. It wasn't like if you were to rate the guy just by watching him run, you'd probably be like, oh, he's like a 6 or a 7. But it wasn't like we were watching Tyreek Hill either, And so when you watch somebody like run, I don't know, or you watch someone do a layup, or you watch someone do a fadeaway jump shot. I don't know exactly what it is that makes you equate that algorithm of that flow of that person to where you're like, that guy's really athletic. It's different than whether the guy makes the shot or misses the shot, or whether the guy ran the 100 meters in under 10 seconds or not. Obviously, if a guy runs under 10 seconds in a 100 meter, he obviously is athletic. There's just no denying that. But the way that in which it might look could be still vastly different amongst people. So it's kind of an interesting thing, and something that I'm feeling when I'm running. And this is like kind of flows into the obsession of the bodies. I kind of feel like my upper body is like screwing and turning one way while the lower body is screwing and turning the other way. And obviously the faster you get going, kind of the more that you'll feel that. But to even be able to do that, which running, I would say, someone running like a 10-minute mile pace or something, it's not super athletic per se. However, it's your gait, and it's probably one of the most athletic movements you can do in some ways, because that's what we have as humans, is like kind of our forward locomotion. And so I'm starting to feel more of that, and that's kind of where my obsession is. And yes, I do want to continue to get leaner and in better shape and those kinds of things, but that's the aesthetics thing is a little bit more on the side, and the movement thing is a little bit more in the forefront, I would say.
Do you guys think that is there a negative aspect? Because like there's, you always hear people say, oh, you don't, being too focused on the way you look is conceited. You're too into yourself, blah, blah, blah. Which I can understand aspects of that. I do think that if more people did probably care about the way that more people do, but I think that it's not necessarily bad to care about the way you look. But being highly cognizant about the way you feel, I think that is something that more of us can tune into pretty well, because I think that that'll help literally everything you do. If you're paying attention to your lower back, or if you're paying attention to different spots that just don't feel right, or if you just allow yourself to kind of venture into those areas and you feel something's not right or something's kind of off, that could help optimize you in the long run. I don't know. Do you guys think there's any aspect of this that people would think is conceited?
Yeah, I think
or too full of yourself.
Yeah, I think people could think that. I think that people do think that of people that are in really good shape. I think a lot of times when somebody sees that someone's in fantastic shape, like not just lean, but they're lean and they have, good amount of muscle mass and stuff like that, I think people are like, that takes a lot of time, and that takes a lot of time. And because they're thinking that takes a lot of time, they're also probably thinking that takes a lot of effort and that takes a lot of individual time, just like somebody might think the same thing of somebody driving a Mercedes or somebody driving like a Lambo. You're like, that guy's probably an asshole. And the guy that cuts you off, I think that a lot of times people have a kind of a perception of someone that's like that, but you don't really know. I mean, the person that has a nice body, much like the person that has the Lambo, they're going to want to drive it around the block a little bit, and they're going to want people to see them driving it. So when you have a nice physique, it's not uncommon for you to like want to go outside and run with your shirt off, or it's not uncommon to, pop your shirt off at a pool party, be the first one to pop your shirt off at the pool party. And again, people might think, oh man, this guy's really full of himself. I can't believe it. You could be, but I think that building up confidence in yourself and feeling good about yourself can be a huge positive. And for a young person, it might take time for them to start to think about other people a little bit more, start to think about other people's perspective. Like that's a maturity thing. It takes a while. You might not be like 30 years old until you get kind of hit over the head with that. Like, oh, I wonder what it's like being like that person. Probably feels a lot different. Maybe I shouldn't have popped my shirt off right in front of that guy right away and dunked his ass in the pool. I should have maybe been a little kinder or whatever. But yeah, I think that people tend to, when they do look at someone that's, you're going to think something similar of a girl with fake boobs, right? You're going to see a girl with fake boobs that maybe puts a lot of time and effort into the look. She's got the shoes on. She's got everything going on. It's like, you're just going to think certain things of that person. You might not think that's the smartest person you ever met before you ever even had a conversation with them. Like, it's not even a fair assessment. You didn't even talk yet, but it might just be something that you're thinking.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but your sleep quality most likely sucks. Aww. It's one of the biggest things that we talk about on the podcast. So many guests have come on and talked about how sleep can help you stick to your diet, stick to your workout plan, lose body fat, gain muscle, all the good things that you're trying to do, but it's hard to do because you might be snoring. And if you're snoring, that's why we've partnered with Hostage Tape, which is mouth tape that you can put over your nose, your mouth, when you're asleep to help you stop snoring and breathe through your nose. But if you haven't been breathing through your nose this whole time while you've been sleeping, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get air through there. That's also why Hostage Tape has nose strips to help open up your nasal airways and make it easier to breathe through your nose when you're asleep. Now, your partner won't be having to with you when you're asleep because you'll be actually breathing through your nose. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at hostagetape.com/powerproject, where you guys will receive an entire year supply of nasal strips and mouth tape, all for less than $1 a night. Again, that's at hostagetape.com/powerproject. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Yeah, the conceit aspect of it is kind of odd because I don't know, being an athlete for a long time, there's always, I guess for me, there's always been kind of like a focus on health, and a byproduct of that is like, if you look healthy, that's kind of a byproduct of that. But I do think that over the years of, especially as we've gotten into doing more things that require the whole body to move together, and then even incorporating aspects of lifting. And when I said like, when compound lifts are mentioned, like squats and deadlifts, I'm talking about things that really the whole body is rotationally moving with certain things. I think that type of stuff has like not only helped me be able to move better, but when something does happen, when there's a little bit of an injury or when there's a little bit of a kink somewhere, it seems like it's much easier to work out because like I know how to access those things. Like with the neck in the gym, I started doing some very like long range rows, allowing the weight to pull my body that way.
With a weight that's light for you.
With a weight that's light for me, right? But I wouldn't have been able to do that in the past because I wouldn't have even thought of moving that way in the past. So I think it's interesting how, I guess, the way somebody moves can kind of inform not just how they deal with injury, but maybe how likely they are to get injured.
Yeah, the way that we move is like such a huge thing. Like years ago, there was Eli Manning. You know, he played for the Giants, and he was always compared to his brother Peyton Manning. And Eli it just seemed like he didn't care. Like the way he walked around, it seemed like he kind of didn't care. He was like more like nonchalant. And I don't know if he was like nonchalant because he was just so good that he just kind of, maybe he's partially didn't care.
Yeah.
But the announcers would talk about it repeatedly. They talked about it all the time. They were like, I don't think he wants to win. Like he doesn't have what it takes. Like he just got smashed all the time. And he, played in New York. And when you're a quarterback of the New York Giants and you're in one of those big cities like that, the press is really on you. You know, if you're in Chicago or New York, it just seems like the press is on you even harder. So the press was always on him, and he defeated the greatest team in the history of football. He defeated the undefeated New England Patriots. He beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl in the craziest game of all time. So the body language, it kind of can inform you, but also you can't really just judge somebody. You can't always judge a book by its cover just because he kind of had his head down in between plays, and maybe he was a little bit more humble. Maybe his brother was going to walk around with his chest up a little bit more, and maybe his brother was going to yell at everybody, and maybe his brother was going to, famously call out the audibles, Omaha, Omaha. Maybe his brother's more vocal. But just because he wasn't vocal and just because he didn't have the same like kind of swagger didn't mean that he didn't have what it takes. He had a really good skill set. But most of the time, I think you're right. Most of the time, I think somebody with their eyes down, when you're out walking, somebody with their eyes down, they're either like a little bit nervous about communicating with somebody else. They might be in pain. It's really common for people in pain to kind of just keep they don't feel good. They don't want to like look up. They don't want to smile. Think about like times like, man, you get out of bed and you're like, man, there's something's going on there today. That doesn't feel right. Like if you're in a lot of pain or if you're sick, you're going to be closed off. And you're like, man, I got the chills. I feel like shit. You're going to just be like, you're going to keep everything kind of in close to you. I think for myself, I think I've gotten to be that way a little bit with all the lifting over the years and, building myself up in certain ways this way. I think sometimes, I would rather kind of just, even though I built myself up to be big, I think sometimes I'd rather like shrink down and disappear a little bit every once in a while. And I think that the way that you walk and the way that you move, I think is a huge aspect of those things. And I think that you can move better by feeling better. And if you look better, you'll probably move better. How does the marching band guy move that's in school, who's got his hair all crazy and he's a little heavy, and he was never picked for any of the sports, versus the captain of the football team? Captain of the football team walks, he's got his chest out, he's man spreading, he's kind of taking up the whole aisle as he walks down the hallway. The big guy, the band guy's probably shuffling along and just not really looking at anybody. So I think those are huge factors.
Both of you guys, though, like over the past few years, again, you running, you doing jiu-jitsu, and the funny thing is too is like we're all getting older, but you guys are like getting older. But the thing is, the thing I think is so great about like both of you is like I can tell a big difference in the way that you walk and the way you move around, Andrew, and you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're leaner and you've gained muscle and you're getting older. And Mark, it's like you came from a background of lifting a lot of weights, but it's like now when I see you move around, it's like your body is more open and it's like there is more movement going on in general, and there's like there's a backwards clock going on with both of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reflective on the actions you're taking on a daily basis. Not just that you're putting on more muscle or anything like that. It's literally like your exercise routines are changing all of that for you.
Yeah, we had so many guests that were breaking the, I guess I'll call, fallacy of like the older you get, you start to deteriorate. So like we have many examples, but being able to look in the mirror and be that example is like way more powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel, it's impossible to put like a percentage or like I feel 10 times better than I did, when I first got to super training, but it's just like I'm just a different person now. Yeah. I move way differently, and it's a lot of it's because I had my son, so like I want to be able to roll around on the ground and do that sort of thing with him, and not like I can't do it today or whatever it may be. He's ultimately the last straw for me to get into jiu-jitsu because I want him to do it. So here he's already going to grow up knowing or living the life that exercise is just normal. Mm-hmm. I want jiu-jitsu to be normal. Eating, healthy food is normal. All this stuff is just normalized. So again, being an example for him as also being an example for myself of like what is possible. And it's just like I'm excited because I knew early on that when I hit 40, I'd probably be in the best shape of my life. Yeah. And it's like, okay, let's see what 50 is going to look like. It's exciting. Like the more stuff we learn and the longer I have like time under tension, like it's just going to get even better. And I know like there's an opportunity for missteps here and there to kind of like hurt something or whatever, but then like I'm just going to focus on something else. Like as simple as like my left hand hurting a little bit right now. Like my thumb's jacked up from the competition. My middle finger got shredded on the rope climb over the weekend. It's like, so my left hand is pretty weak right now as far as grips. So now I'm just focusing more on being stronger on my right side, which you felt today with like the collar sleeve stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, felt as in like you felt my right hand being a little bit stronger, not like, oh yeah, you felt my strength, motherfucker. Like, yeah, right. But like, it's just allowing me to like switch things up and try something else. So like, that's how it's going to happen. If I'm, whatever, hurt a foot or something, it's like, okay, well, I'll just play more off of my back or whatever it may be. Mm. But the long ass explanation is just me saying that like, yes, I'm aging in the wrong direction. I'm getting younger as I'm getting older, and I'm measuring that by what my body's ability, like my abilities of what I can do today are way better than what they were many years ago.
We should do that fucking DNA age test thing. I think it's like $500, but like we
bone
should
density too, man. It's gotten bigger.
Yeah. I don't know what I had tested, but I had something tested, and I'm like 6 years younger than whatever my age says.
That thing, yeah.
I think it was it may have been part of the. It might have been part of it. Well, maybe Dan Garner might have put it in there for me.
Okay.
But he was saying like each time I get my blood work, that's something that we can take a look at. Mm-hmm. He's like that could be something that we, sort of chase. I mean, even if you just stay the same age, like that would be kind of cool for the next few years. Something I was going to mention is if you think about all the different people that we've had come here, it's really, really rare that someone makes like real changes. It's really, really rare that someone makes real changes. And I'm not talking about like improvement isn't necessarily a change. Like I think for yourself, what I've examined through you over the years, and I would say that you have good genetics, you work really hard, you're someone that's a really high-level athlete. You were a high-level athlete before we ever met, and you did well in powerlifting, did well in bodybuilding, did well in soccer, and now you're doing well in jiu-jitsu. But even for yourself, I think that people don't understand. You have to leave behind the exercises that you did to make you a particular way, and you have to find new exercises, because I would speculate and I would guess that if you were still really chasing after deadlifts and squats and bench presses, you would not be moving as well. I don't know if you would be if you really wanted to, you could probably figure it out, but trying to figure that out in combination with jiu-jitsu, I think would be really hard. And you think about the guys that we've had that come here, Matt Wenning, Stan Efferding, some of these kind of old friends of mine, while they've made some changes, it would be really nice to see them make a much larger change. they're kind of scared to change. And Stan, when he came in here, he was of course making fun of me. He kind of always does that.
Oprah thing was
But yeah. Oprah has a better time than me, and she has bigger arms. Could be true, actually. We gotta look these stats up. Could be true, but I think Rhino is about 10 years older than me, so he's doing great and he's staying in great shape. But I'm just thinking to myself, I'm not even going to say anything back because I don't need to. Like, it's obvious he needs to make a change. He needs to be doing what I'm doing more so, and he knows it. And so I'm just going to let it sit there. And I'm not going to say anything.
Flip it.
Because like 10 minutes later, he's like, oh, man, I need to downsize. I need to lose some weight. I'm like 245. Remember he was saying that in the gym?
Yeah. He's big.
Yeah. So
he's huge.
He's huge, which is awesome. Yeah. And everyone loves seeing him hit the big weights. But I'm always like, man, I know what those weights still feel like. I know how they sit in your body. I know how they kind of sit in your system. And we've had Sean Baker here before, and Sean Baker is probably the same age as Stan, maybe a little bit older. And Sean Baker doesn't take a long time to get up out of his chair. Sean Baker's not like kind of in pain, and because Sean doesn't train that same way. Now he'll go heavy, but when he does a box squat, he does like a high box squat. When he goes to do some sort of heavy deadlift, he might use the trap bar. He does a lot of explosive movements. He's not overextending himself. And yeah, Sean Baker is quite a specimen, I would say. Like he's like 6'5" or 6'6", and he's a goddamn bear. He's a grizzly bear, right? But my point being is that you do need to be careful with the inputs that you put into your body, with the things that you're putting into your body in terms of your program and in terms of the lifting that you're doing. So if you're somebody that wants to start to move better and you want to start to run, I'm not saying that you can't deadlift. What I'm trying to say is that I think that you might have to find different versions or different ways to still build up the lower back and the glutes, maybe in a way that would mimic the deadlift rather than just killing yourself relentlessly with tons and tons of reps and sets.
And some shrugs.
Yeah. Wow. What is the weight on those shrugs, though? 600 pounds?
600. 56 years old.
Sean.
Yeah, and see, that's a shrug. It's like a partial range of motion movement. Like, I think what's lost in fitness is what's the cost of some of these things. What is the cost of walking 3 or 4 miles every day? Virtually nothing.
Yeah.
If you're in just like halfway decent shape, it costs you some time, but it doesn't cost you any sort of recovery. What does what does holding on to or chasing after your 405 deadlift, what does that cost you?
Yeah.
It might cost you too much. It might not make sense to do anymore. Andrew's doing jiu-jitsu, but he's still training. He still wants to keep the size on. But you're not doing some of those movements because those movements don't play into what you're currently after.
Yeah, no, I always say that the workouts should add to the jiu-jitsu, not, take away. Because some of the guys that I roll with, they don't know how to gauge that, and they don't know how to what's the term when like the program's written out, but they don't self-regulate.
Auto-regulate.
Auto-regulate. There you go. And they'll come into jiu-jitsu in the morning, and you can just tell it's like you gave too much to your workout, and because like the passion, you can even see like the passion's not there anymore. It's like it's gone. They're just kind of like going through the motions. It's like, dude, yeah, you got to learn how to pull back, leave the ego, because I know that's what it always comes down to. It's like that guy's going hard, so I want to match his intensity. Like, no, like what's the end goal? The end goal is to get better at jiu-jitsu, so like let's just focus on that.
Yeah. The cool thing about the gym, strength training, bodybuilding is that, like, if we think of bodybuilding and just doing isolation work, that's actually always easy to do. That's always easy to keep included. But what would maybe...
Because it doesn't hurt or cost you much.
It doesn't hurt or cost you much, but it starts costing you a lot when you overdo it, or when you're doing fucking like upper body 4 days a week or 3 days a week and lower body 3 days. And
your elbows are bothering you and everything else.
Can you remember, like I even remember when I was focused on bodybuilding, the things that I would always be like, fuck, that hurts is my elbows, right? My lower back and my knees. Like those would be the things that were like perpetually sore, right? And be like, fuck, I can't, I gotta.
Just inflamed all the time.
But if you just back off of that a little bit, It doesn't cost you nearly as much, but it's something that you can keep included in everything. Powerlifting too. Strength training is good. Like Sean touches heavy weights every now and then. Yeah. I don't know if it's every single day. I don't think it is, but like we touch heavy weight every now and then. Like I touch it, but the cost isn't too much. That skill is still there. But I feel like if you've already managed to build the skill of having a good SBD for yourself, and you don't plan on necessarily competing in powerlifting, let's say that's not your goal, it might be a good idea to go down the rabbit hole of other things, maybe some calisthenics, maybe some FP, maybe some GOTA type stuff, because there is going to be a weakness there for you. And that's kind of the way I think of certain things. Like when I see something on Instagram or I see somebody doing like the fucking back bridge or some weird shit with their shoulder, already I'm like, I already can't do that, but I wonder what would happen to the way I can move around if I'm able to actually do that. Will that help with everything else? Potentially not. But I know that if I can figure out things that aren't necessarily my strengths, because like lifting isn't a weakness for me at this point. It's not like I'm lifting as much as I was, but at the same time, I could lift as much as I was very quickly. So it's like, it's not a skill. I don't want to say this the wrong way. It is a skill that I could develop, but if I continue to develop that skill, it's not going to give me as much back. Whereas these other things that I'm super weak at, these ways of manipulating my body in space, if I can develop those skills, I will get much more back from that than diving in to try and get a 700 or 800 pound deadlift.
And if you were to take the top 10 guys in jiu-jitsu or the top 100 guys in jiu-jitsu and you were to check off some boxes of what they squat, bench, or deadlift, you wouldn't find it being like these crazy numbers.
No.
Sure, some proficiency is nice, and you can make an argument that the guy that deadlifts 315, if he got to 365, maybe he'll be a little stronger. But is anyone going to like really feel that on the mat unless you increased your, increased your technique and a lot of other things came along with that? Probably not. Probably not going to really notice it much. It's not a prerequisite for you to be able to deadlift 405 for you to be able to like choke somebody out. However, if you don't have any proficiency and you really don't lift at all, it is a good thing. It is a good thing to work on and to build on. But I would say I would like to probably see people start out probably more in the bodybuilding realm for a little bit, move around some weights, learn how to do those movements, learn how to do some full range of motion stuff. As you start to become more accustomed to that, maybe occasionally, now that you know how to do the exercises, you start to use a little bit more weight and you start to kind of push into those things. But there's so much you can get out of doing some like dumbbell stuff. There's so much you can get out of doing some kettlebell work. The amount of repetitions that you do with a kettlebell is insane a lot of times. Like it's just, for whatever reason, when someone goes to deadlift, like how many reps are they going to do? 1, maybe 3? Like people don't really, they're not like, oh, I'm going to do 4 sets of 10 of deadlifts. Like it's really rare unless they're doing like a stiff leg deadlift or something. Very rare for someone to say, I'm going to do 4 sets of 10. So right away, the deadlift is kind of almost a quote unquote bad exercise because of how we utilize it. We utilize it with heavy weight right away. We don't take the time to really learn how to do the movement, and therefore it's probably going to make you stiffer rather than making you more athletic. With a kettlebell, for whatever reason, you're like, I should probably do this for like 8 to 15 reps or something like that. I'm going to swing it around this way, and then I'm going to swing it around this way for another 8 or 15 reps. And if you do like one arm at a time, or you're doing a kettlebell swing, you do 15 on, with one arm, now you do 15 with the other. It's like, that's 30 reps. That is a lot of repetitions for the lower back, and we've seen it with Nsima, and we've seen it with other athletes. Dre is not weak. Every goddamn Dre, like he's not weak.
Jared, who we just had on.
Yep. Yeah. Jared, there's a lot of examples of it. These guys, they can get under some weight and they can move some weight. So sometimes the kettlebell option is nice because you're still able to have some really good movement. I saw Kelly Starrett the other day talking about flipping a tire. And he's like, sometimes flipping a tire just destroys people. And he's like, why is that? Is it the weight of the tire? I mean, sometimes strongman guys are really flipping some crazy tires, but a lot of times in your average gym, there's like a 250, 400 pound tire. Even though it sounds crazy heavy, you're only picking up like half of it, and then you flip it over. But he said people get wrecked by that exercise. Why do they get wrecked by it? Well, you have to get down really low. Your hands, think about like where do your hands go when you deadlift? your hands go several inches above like where your ankles would be.
Yeah.
Goes like midway down your shin, right? That's where your hands need to get to in order for you to get your hands on a barbell. Where do your hands need to go to flip a tire? They need to go all the way to the fucking floor. And so now you're in this like compromised position, but it shouldn't really be a compromised position. Like the lower back has the ability to express that lower end range, and you should be able to flip a tire just fine. So there's so many different ways of going about doing this, and the strength curve of something like flipping a tire, while it may be dangerous to do it out of nowhere, I'm not suggesting that, it might be safer and better and more beneficial for grappling or wrestling or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. The kettlebell thing is actually, it's pretty interesting because you know how we always use the idea of like throwing weights around? Like the kettlebell is really throwing that weight around. I mean, if you kind of see the stuff that Dre and Jared are doing, it's I think that if anybody could just get one kettlebell just to keep, a light one, maybe 20, 25 pounds, there's a lot you could do with that because like you just mentioned, the amount of repetition you can get with the kettlebell. And then
those guys are both in great shape.
Amazing shape.
They're both jacked.
Yeah, amazing shape. But the freedom of doing it literally wherever, you know, I got a little bit inspired by Jared. So I went to a park yesterday and I just took a rope and a kettlebell out there. I was having so much fun just literally working on flips, throwing the kettlebell around.
Some rope flow?
Yeah, I did some rope stuff, but then I was also working the kettlebell. And it's like the amount of repetitions you get by swinging, transitioning, going up, going to the side, the amount of expression you can have with your body by using a kettlebell, like you'll see some stuff Dre's doing here, but then if you go to Jared's page and you look at the different ways and planes in which he's moving, that's movement. You know, that's going to kind of change the way that your body moves around. If you can learn to start expressing yourself with that weight. And again, I think it is a really cool idea and a really cool aspect that you can literally throw that weight around. You throw, you receive, you transition. It will change the way that a lot of people can move if they can just learn how to start flowing with weight in that way. Power Project family, we talk about eating meat all the time on this podcast. Pause. But sometimes you might want to eat some different meat. Pause. You might want to eat duck, chicken, Japanese A5 Wagyu. You might want to change things up. That's why we've partnered with Good Life Proteins, which also has certified Piedmontese beef on their website. Now, all you have to do is head to goodlifeproteins.com and you can select Build a Box with all of the proteins that you want. Then you'll select Subscribe and Save to save money on all of your meat. Pause. Enter code POWERPROJECT to save an extra 5% on any subscription you select. So if you want to get your beef every 2 weeks, you'll be able to save 25% on all of your meat. Again, that's goodlifeproteins.com. Links are in the description along with the podcast show notes.
A lot of times when you get into this stuff too, the diet will follow. And when Dre was here, he's like pretty much just eat meat and fruit. I think Jared eats pretty clean as well.
Yeah.
And it's you get into these things and you start to do certain things better and you're like, I wonder how much better I could get. And as you start to examine that, you're like, oh, maybe I should eat better. Maybe I should sleep better. Maybe I should hydrate better. And you start getting into the whole thing over a period of time. Look how easy he's just throwing those kettlebells around.
But look at all the planes of motion.
Did you find that like the kettlebell that he had, I don't know, he had one that was like hollowed out, just felt different.
It's a competition bell. There's a few companies that sell them, like Kettlebell Kings sells really good competition bells.
It felt like more comfortable for some reason.
It was. I think those bells were Kettlebell Kings, but there's another company called Bells of Steel that also has really good, they're called competition style kettlebells. So I'm looking to grab some of those types of bells soon too.
Is it the weight is distributed differently or something? Because I was like confused by it. I picked it up. I thought it was going to like be like a ton of bricks, but it felt good.
Yeah, the weight is distributed like, it does have like a hollow section in the middle, but it's distributed evenly.
It's probably calibrated throughout or something like that.
They're competition bells.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why, you know, they're different from the standard kettlebell that has the big, you know, handle and then all the densities in the bell like that. So, but those are really cool things that literally, I think it's a cool tool that you can keep in your trunk, you can keep in a bag, you can take it everywhere with you, you can go out to a park and just fuck around. It's a great addition.
That's not being too obsessive by carrying it around.
Dog, I think I don't think so. even though it's not normal, things like that should be normal. We know that, you know what I mean? If more people could just move forward in terms of their health and be more obsessed with the way that their body's feeling, because I think if you don't know that something necessarily feels bad, then it's just normal. We've had this conversation before. If you're just used to certain pain or getting up and being in pain, if you're used to that, then that is your normal. That's what good might feel like for you, right? So you got to move to be able to get out of it.
Yeah, I think if you're really obsessed, you are going to try to like normalize a lot of stuff. You can make your life just so much more convenient, you know, by simply having a pair of running shoes in your car, you know, by, I don't know, maybe you're going to like a family get together and you're like, I'm going to pack my shorts and my running shoes because when I'm done, when I leave, I might change and like go for a run. Then boom, you got your fitness in for the day. And it might seem obsessive, it might seem extreme, but you still went and did the normal family stuff. It's just that when it was done and everybody else went home, you decided to go do something that you really love and enjoy. And you want to try to stick to it. And it's not always easy to stick to it. So you might have to kind of think of convenient ways that you can still stay connected to it.
You know, the really cool thing, though, is like, I think it's pretty wild the types of things that anybody, not just us here, but anybody can get used to. Because the ridiculousness of you saying, oh, yeah, I ran 10 miles yesterday. I ran 10 miles the next, because I think last week, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, you had multiple 10+ mile days, right? That's just normal for you now, dog. That's so fucking crazy, dude. Like that is wild. That's crazy. And you just do it and you come back, you're refreshed the next day, you work the next day. But you slowly got used to the discomfort of that. You got good at it. And now that's just, if you don't do it, you're like, oof, I gotta go do my 10-mile run. Another example of that is our boy James Purat, you know?
Yep.
I think when some people think of when you do long distance and dropping weight and feeling like shit, they think that that's automatic. But James right now, I don't know if he's doing multiple full marathons a week, right? Because he's getting ready to do like a crazy run
like running from here to Washington or some shit like that.
I think it's going to be 500 miles, right?
Jesus.
500 miles, yeah.
500 miles. And James is jacked right now, still. Like, James is still
got some
holding
good body weight on him, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's deadlifts like 500+ pounds, 525.
Still, right? So that's what I'm saying, man. The type of shit that your body can get used to, negative or positive, is pretty fucking wild. It just takes a lot of time, and it is absolutely going to be pretty uncomfortable when you start.
He's working with Nike now?
Oh, he did a shoot with Nike. He did a shoot with Nike.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It was so sick. He mentioned that the other day. So
whoa.
Yeah, man.
He's a beast. You know, he
fucking
deadlifted 500 and ran 50 miles in the same day.
Yeah.
Dude, he is a one of one.
Yeah.
Like, the shit he's doing is pretty damn unreal.
Goes out and hunts bears and shit. I don't get it.
That's wow.
I'm scared. I'll try to hunt a bear.
But
yeah.
Again, that's why I think it's really, you know, I've seen the comment of people saying, oh, you guys are on the flavor of the month this time. Or you guys are.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, we're poking around. We're trying to find the truth. We're trying to find, I mean, quite honestly, like trying to look for the next best thing, but we know that there's not one. Like, we know the answer is still the same. It's still eat natural foods and exercise. Lift some weight, go for a walk, you know, eat meat and fruit and vegetables, and you're good to go.
But
we know it's true, but we want to kind of poke around. Oh, what are these guys saying? Really? If I do that, that's going to increase my time like that? Really? Let's find out. Let's have the guy on the show. Let's talk to him.
But the thing is like, so many of these things have kind of like shown us parts of our fitness where we're kind of weak.
Yeah.
And then we've been able to kind of work on that a bit, and boom, it's something that like, it's just now just a very natural part of what we do, right? So find out, like, work on those things where you're weak. It's not fun to do that because you're kind of weak or you kind of suck there. That's never fun. But the thing is, on the other side of that is going to be some progress for you, most likely.
Yeah, we are definitely, I mean, we definitely like jump the shark, as they say. You know, we got these little hand squeezer things. We're working on our grip. We're standing on these things that are mimicking like, I guess like branches and rocks and shit for our feet. We're digging in. But we know, like the cool thing is we know that you're the same. We know that a lot of people that are listening are the same. Like you you go to sit down at home and you go to like kind of kick your feet up and just relax, and you're like, I should put my fucking toe spacers on. Like, don't be a pussy. Just put them on. It doesn't cost you anything. Don't be a little bitch. Just put them on.
It can be so annoying.
Yeah. It's annoying. It's annoying. It's annoying as fuck, you know?
That's why you wear toe spacer shoes, bro.
We're fucking weird.
You know, and like, you know, before you leave the house, like for me, it takes me hours to leave my house. Because I'm always like, I need this, I need that. Like, I need my essential amino acids. I need my fucking protein. At the same time, the other part of my brain's going, don't be a pussy. You don't need any of that shit. Just go run, you dickhead.
Sure you don't have schizophrenia, dog?
I think I do.
Yeah. I think we all do.
Well, yeah, those two parts do talk to each other a lot now that I think about it. But yeah, it's just kind of part of being obsessed about it. And I think the more that people kind of start to question, like, how into this are you? I think it's actually a healthy question to ask yourself. Because the guys that are showing up to jiu-jitsu that are kind of wearing it, like, they're just not as into it as they think they are. They think they're into it, but if they were really into it, they'd get the sleep that they needed. And if they were really into it, they wouldn't over deadlift themselves in the gym, or they wouldn't do those couple extra sets, because they'd say, you know what? I need to learn from my mistakes. I want to get better at jiu-jitsu. I need to go in there fresh. I need to be a killer. That's what it takes. Like, just because Kobe Bryant stayed after and shot 3-pointers and free throws and worked on other skills after a game doesn't mean that he didn't recover. You know, don't forget that Allen Iverson also said, well, he wasn't at the club. He wasn't partying with everybody. He went home. That was the big difference between him and a lot of those other guys. So it kind of sometimes might feel isolating here and there, but nothing feels better than winning. Nothing feels better than getting ahead. When you start to win and you start to get ahead and you start to put up points on the scoreboard and you start to see some progress, or someone's like, dude, that was unbelievable what you did. That was incredible. Great job. You're like, oh shit. Okay, cool. That felt really good. That's one of my goals, is I want to keep getting better at this. And someone just recognized it. It feels fucking great.
Yeah. I think I might have like totally crushed my wife's like hopes, because she had asked me. I was
wondering what you're about to say.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Because
your wife's what?
Spoiler alert! It's the 3rd of July, so tomorrow's the 4th of July. We're not sure when you guys are listening to this, but she's like, "Oh, so what are we doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna train. I'm gonna work. Gonna eat right. I'm not gonna drink.
Do whatever you want. I'm going to the gym.
I'm not gonna stay up late, because I'm gonna train the next day, and then I'm gonna go to work the next day, just like every other day. So nothing.
It's grind
changes.
time.
Yeah,
grind time, babe.
She's like,
every day.
She's like, no, but like, you know what I mean? Like, are we gonna go to the barbecue? And I was just like, yes, of course. But it was just funny because
asshole.
So then it's like, because I know I'm not gonna mess with anything tomorrow, because it's gonna mess with the next day also. Like, I'm not gonna go eat stupidly, and I'm definitely not gonna drink anything, because I don't drink, but also like that's just gonna make me feel terrible the next day, because I want to get better. Like I'm not gonna allow a holiday, because there's an excuse for everything, right? Like we were joking with Stan, which I think should have been out by now. It's like, oh, I had such a horrible day. It's like, oh, I had the best day ever. Like both of them lead to the same excuses, or the same things to eat or drink. And it's like, well, tomorrow's just another day.
I had a horrible day. Here, have a drink.
Yeah.
I had the most amazing day. Let's go celebrate.
Yeah.
Look into my eyes. Now, I know that you want to be looking better. You want to be walking the streets being like, damn, I look and feel good, because then everyone's going to be looking at you. That's why we've partnered with Viore Clothing, so you can stop wearing your ripped up tank and your long shorts and step your athleisure game up. Viore has clothes that you can wear to dinner with a date, or you can wear it in the gym. Personally, some of our favorites are the Ponto Performance line, and it has this dream knit fabric, trademarked, that literally feels like baby skin on your skin. It sounds kind of weird, but when you put it on and feel it, my God, that will change your life. Right here, this is the Boulevard shirt jacket. You guys are always wondering what kind of long sleeves we're wearing. It stretches, it feels good. Andrew, where can they step their game up?
Absolutely. You guys got to head over to vuori.com/powerproject. That's VUORI.com/powerproject, and you'll automatically receive 20% off your order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
I got to say, man, you are fucking amazing, Andrew, because that little thing you said, I'm not going to have a drink because I don't drink. But kind of knowing your past now, how much you drank, right? We were on the last episode. Who's the only one on this podcast who's done a fucking cake stand?
Yeah,
you. but like now, dude, like you're doing jiu-jitsu, you eat healthy, like you mentioned multiple times, you're different, but it's just the transformation is insane, dude.
Yeah, very contrasty from my
Very.
past. Yeah, dude, and I'm just so happy that I did manage to take the right turn, when maybe I would normally turn left or whatever it may be. And I definitely got lucky. I'm not going to sugarcoat that, meeting Mark and everything. And it just made me go further down this path that I was already into. And so I'm just super grateful with how everything worked out. But yeah, especially looking back and thinking about some of these memories, just joking about all the dumb stuff we would do when we were drinking. It's like, dude, oh man, none of it is missed. Not 1 ounce. People talk about how are you going to have fun if you're not drinking? Or don't you miss those times? And sure, we laughed a lot. We had a lot of fun, but there's a reason why I don't hang out with anybody anymore that I used to hang out with back then. From my, to the best of my knowledge, some of them still do hang out with each other and not, I'm definitely disrespecting them. I'm hating on them, but if they're happy and they're cool with it, then cool. I would not be happy if I was still stuck doing that.
Yeah.
There'd be no freaking way. Just the same way, I can't drink or I can't even eat off plan on a Wednesday night because it's going to mess up Thursday, despite it being a national holiday, the fucking national holiday, right? This is the time where you're supposed to barbecue, eat a lot of food and drink and celebrate America and blow shit up. And I'm not going to fucking do that. And I'm also not going to buy fireworks because I already went on a rant on that, I think, a couple years back about how annoying that shit is. But I'm not going to mess with the program. It's just, why would I get worse when I could get better?
Yeah.
Everybody else, they can do whatever they want. But the fuckers I'm going to go up against in competition, please go drink, go have fun. I'm not because I need to get better.
Well, you're having fun. You're having, you're talking about 4th of July fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, dude, no. There's no way. I'm just no more steps backwards. Fuck that.
I feel you.
Too much on the line.
Let's fucking go.
I do think something that's really valuable for people, who think we're wacky. Getting a little obsessed about your body, I think, can go a long way towards helping your health. There's so many people are out of shape, and so many people have diseases that I think are preventable, or at least things that you could push off until later in life, simply, by challenging your metabolic health through exercise and through your diet. And those are all things that we can take care of. And so we have a family friend that she will not eat out at a restaurant. She won't eat anything. And it's weird because sometimes we all go out to eat together, but she's like, I don't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. She's like, I don't like the seed oil thing. I don't like any of that stuff. And yeah. And she'll drink iced tea, or she'll find some sort of option that she can do something. So but the only person it bothers is everybody else. It's nobody else's business. It's her own decision with her own medical, her own, whatever the things are that she's worried about. Who cares? She's worried about something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not as worried, but what's it bother me if she makes a particular health decision? She eats before we go out type thing, and it really doesn't bother anybody. Once everyone gets over the fact that she's not going to order anything, which she tells everybody every single time, and it's always, every time it's a thing, as if she's announcing it as being new. Yeah. People are like, oh my God, you're not going to get anything? She's like, I just don't order food from restaurants. I don't know what they're going to do to the food. It bothers my stomach. And she's got to kind of give everybody the whole spiel every single time.
Did she ever work in a restaurant or no?
I don't know. That would be a good question for her, though. I'll ask her, because maybe she has. Maybe she's kind of seen behind. Maybe she's seen behind the curtain, and she's like, I'm not going for that. But anyway, you don't have to make changes that are that harsh or that extreme, but you have the option to, and you can take agency and you can take control over your own nutrition very easily. You can take some control over your own habits, and I think that all these things they're manageable, and you might seem obsessed about your fitness, maybe in comparison to some family members and stuff. But I do think that over time, if you explain to people what the hell's going on and what the hell it is that you're doing, so it doesn't shock them or bother them that you're bringing your own meat to the barbecue that you want to cook up, and try to include other people. Like, let's say you're going to a barbecue and you want to bring some. Everybody's eating fucking burgers or something. You want to cook up a bunch of chicken. Like, cook up chicken that's good, that has skin on it, by the way. And say, hey, I brought this over. I'll cook it myself if you want. And anybody else can have some. I brought extra, and if anybody wants it.
Why shouldn't they just bring some chicken breast with some tapatio sprinkled on top? You don't think everyone will like that?
Yeah, a little bit of soy on top. But, again, I think that taking control over that could be something that could be really important for a lot of people, just because in this country, we're heading in the wrong direction as far as our health is concerned.
Wrong direction and fast.
I asked you that kitchen thing just because I know a few people who've worked in restaurants, and those are the people who are like super like, I'm not going to eat there.
Yeah.
Because they really do, like, apparently restaurant kitchens can just be a fucking nightmare. The food looks great on the plate, but like, you don't know what's in a lot of that shit.
I mean, aside from things being like occasionally like disgusting or whatever, there's the fact that they'll just cook your food in a lot of oil. I remember I went to a restaurant. It was a pretty nice restaurant too. And I just asked, and this was when I was doing my bodybuilding show, and I was like, I don't know how you prepare the salmon, but if it's possible, could I get it, without it being like cooked in any oil or anything? And the woman was like, I'll have to check on that. And then they brought like the cook out, and the guy started talking to me, and he's like, he's like, I don't know what you mean cooking it without any oil. I was like, well, I'm assuming that sometimes when you cook some of the meat here, that you maybe cook it in like a pan or something, or you cook it on a fryer, and you probably put some oil down, and then you cook it. He goes, yeah. I was like, I would just like you to do that whole process just without the oil. And he goes, I don't know if that'll work. I was like, I do it at home all the time. I was like,
this is hilarious.
Yeah. I'm like, it'll work. And then he went back and he cooked up the salmon, and then like he brought it out and he was laughing. He's like, I don't know why I didn't think that would work, but he's like, it worked.
That's just so funny that, like, I guess in restaurants, they're so used to cooking things in so much oil that the concept of cooking it without oil is just so foreign to a cook.
I would have understood better too if it was like a chicken breast or something, because like a chicken breast might get stuck to the pan and like it might create some like problems, I guess. But with salmon, I was like, no, that'll cook up just fine.
Yo, man.
That's crazy. They'll just take the bottle and just fucking empty it on your food.
Yeah.
Be careful out here, folks.
I'm almost doing, like, when I go to, like, whether it be In-N-Out or like Habit Burger, like explaining like, no, it's just the meat patty, because I went to a newer In-N-Out in Elk Grove, and it was I think I just ordered it was only the three of us, so it was probably only like 9 or 10 Flying Dutchmen, and the total was like $80-something, and I'm like,
wait, 10 Flying Dutchmen? That shouldn't be that expensive.
That's what I said, but I was like, try not to be like a cheapo, and being like, hey, I'm sorry to do this, but you entered that wrong somehow. I'm like, it should be closer to like $40 or $50. And she's like, no, you ordered 10 double singles. And I'm like, no, that's 10 hamburgers. I just want Flying Dutchmen. And then she's like, no. And then so she had to get somebody, and then they did it right away. And the same thing happens at Habit. I'm just like, no, I just need singles. I'm like, it's miscellaneous side patty. And they look up at me. They're like,
you're like, let me get back there.
They look at me like, oh. And I was like, then you got to add American cheese separately also, and you have to count them one by one. And they're just like, you must order this a lot. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually surprised you guys haven't figured it out yet.
How much is it at Habit, by the way?
It's only a little bit more, but it's definitely worth it. If I were to go,
it's like $1.25 more per like patty or something.
Yeah, especially because like they charge you quite a bit for the cheese. But like honestly though, like you guys know I love In-N-Out, but if I had to go full carnivore, no fries or nothing, I think Habit would be the way to go. I think their patties by themselves are a lot better.
A little bit better cheese too, like better
maybe
quality
that's what it
cheese.
is. Yeah.
The cheese at In-N-Out tastes amazing, but I think the cheese
and the grilled onions at Habit are phenomenal.
Fucking Christ. Okay. Oh, sorry.
How dare you.
I'm hungry. Can you tell me, what do I need to get at Habit? What do I order? Do I order 10 miscellaneous patties and 10 American cheeses?
Tell them, I just want 10 patties with cheese. And if they get weird, like they will figure it out.
Go up to them and say, Power Project.
Yeah, motherfucker.
just give them a head nod, say Power Project. Just yell it.
So what if I say 5 double patties with cheese?
They might freak out.
Yeah, because I don't want like one cheese, one patty. That's too much cheese.
They're going to see how big you are. They're going to be like, he wants like 20 burgers.
So in that case, because I have done the same thing where
I wanted to be like the Flying Dutchman.
I make my own Flying Dutchman. So I say, can I get 5 meat patties with cheese and then 5 meat patties by themselves? And you make it yourself.
Blow my mind.
Dude, I've done this a lot, all right?
Okay.
And then so like when you order over, I believe it's over 8, they get really confused on how to package it. So like, sir, like how do you want, like how many patties per thing? And so like I'll be like 2 for my son, 2 for my daughter, and then the rest just pile it all in one. And then they're like, all of those in one? I'm like, yes. And they're like, okay. And then it's just a mountain of meat and cheese. It's incredible.
Excited.
So you know how you can do like the 4x4 and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I heard, I don't think you can still do it, but I heard people used to do like 100.
Yeah.
But now I guess you have to like pre-order
Yeah.
if you're trying to do that many patties, I guess.
Yeah, I guess people would do it to like for like a
Party or something.
big party. Like they would just order all the patties and then like put it together themselves, like with their like homemade buns or whatever. But
Sounds incredible.
a little birdie told me that you can actually call In-N-Out and get their patties still frozen or like cold, not uncooked or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you go grill them yourself. I know I haven't tried that yet, but I would like to. Just throw that in the Ninja air fryer.
The possibilities are endless.
Endless possibilities.
They don't, I don't think either one of those places actually, neither one of them fries their burgers in anything. They just cook them up.
Mm-hmm.
They don't put them in any oil. I mean, at least from what they tell me, or have told me when I've been there before.
Yeah, their fries are cooked in sunflower seed oil. So that's one thing you got to watch out for.
There is a spot that has tallow fries. Where is that? Is that one of the big chains uses tallow? I can't remember.
Search for it.
I
but
do
it's not
know
like
that Buffalo Wild Wings uses tallow. They fry their wings in tallow.
All of their wings?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
beef tallow. Let me see if I can find this.
How do we?
I mean, I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but
Yeah.
it just sounds healthier.
That's true.
I'm gonna get me healthier wings. It's like you're still eating like so many. By the time, especially like if you eat wings as a meal, you're just eating so many wings.
I can't get full off of wings.
Yo, but it, like
I love them.
making good wings at home is so easy.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
If you have an air fryer, like I'll just like, marinate in little shit, put some of that pork pinko stuff on it, let that, put that in. Ooh, bro.
And it's gonna be way healthier.
Way healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we gonna order from In-N-Out? You gonna call it up?
Nah, I'm going to have it. Right once we finish, I'm going to have it.
Oh, I meant like on the show.
Oh. Give it a shot.
And then I would say get like the 5 with the cheese. Get that with grilled onions too.
I'll do the grilled onions too.
I think
fucking love grilled onions.
I think if you do all 10 patties with grilled onions, it's a little bit too much. For me personally, it's a little bit too much. I end up getting kind of like bubble guts.
I got you. Yeah,
But you might be okay though, because still. Are you still doing the dashboard sushi?
Nah, dude. But I've been on a 1 onion a day streak. I've stopped though. Like I've gone to half onions.
Yeah, you get these weird.
Yeah.
Well,
you guys know I've been eating that pickled food, but I've slowed down on the pickled herring and the I think pickled herring, onion, and pork belly, just because going too deep on the pickled food, apparently, like there's a lot of health risks behind that if you eat that shit too often.
I imagine.
Stomach cancer is one of them.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like apparently people who eat like crazy amount of like really salted pickled food, high frequency, that's something that they think about. So like I've slowed down, but I'm still having it.
Yeah, I think it's a rabbit hole. I think there's some sort of difference between pickled and fermented.
Yeah.
So good luck going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. We talked about the bald rhino in this podcast, Stan Efferding, who we actually just did 2 podcasts with. So check both of them out. Check one of them out. One was on nutrition, one was on strength training and a bunch of other good stuff. Pick your poison. You should pick one. They're both great. I'd personally go with whichever one you choose to go with.